All right, welcome back to our NBA previews. This is Trey Daubert, along with me as always, Jarrod Prosser, our NBA correspondent. We're going to be talking about the Washington Wizards this week, everyone's team that they love to put on TV. They're a league pass team that, you can't get enough of the Washington Wizards.
Oh,
Everyone should be so excited for this preview.
Oh, man, no. They really get the hearts racing, don't they, the Wizards? I don't know what else to say.
I don't either.
But for years, for a lot of years, until they finally embraced this rebuild, I used to just say that Orlando were just meh. They weren't anything. They weren't really good. They weren't really bad. They didn't have interesting players. They just sort of existed. And Washington is in danger of becoming this decade's Orlando.
I think that might already be too late. As evidenced by my efforts to drag them up.
Look, they've got the same goals as what Orlando had for years, which is get the 8th seed and get 3 playoff games, maybe a 4th.
Don't tell Bradley Beal that.
Oh, look, I'm sure Brad listens to all of our pods, Trey. So yeah, I apologize, Mr. Look, you can argue against the goals of Washington as a franchise, but you cannot argue with the results. They almost every year hit that 8th seed, make the playoffs, and get knocked out. Completely inconsequential once they get there.
See, Sacramento Kings, you're jealous. Be more like Washington.
Oh, God, Sacramento would kill to be like Washington. Literally, they would kill a man to get Washington's last few years. But, the interesting thing is that last season, Washington were worse. They didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It was very much a transitional season for them. They signed, I think it was a sign and trade was how they got Spencer Dinwiddie, and that went down like a lead balloon. Dinwiddie loves to have the ball in his hand. He really does take the air out of the ball when he's got it. He loves to pound that thing into the floor. That clearly didn't mesh with Brad Beal or anyone else on the team, and the personalities, by all accounts, weren't exactly dovetailing all that well either. Now, putting the ball in Dinwiddie's hands, Beal had his worst season for probably 4 or 5 years as a result before injury struck and kept him out for the season. And when they did trade Dinwiddie for Porzingis, that was right when Beal went down and torpedoed the season anyway. So we didn't really get to see what Washington could be with this Beal-Porzingis pairing. We did see what they were like with the Beal-Dinwiddie pairing, and it was pretty damn ugly.
Yeah.
So what they had, 35 wins, 12th in the division, completely missed the playoffs. Even for Washington, it's a bad season.
Yeah. Let's talk about the offseason that is headlined by the monster Bradley Beal extension. Do you have any other moves you want to talk about?
Yeah, look, I understand why Washington inked Beal to that extension, but at the same time, that is going to hurt them in year 5 and potentially year 4. Really going to hurt them. Unless all of these guys that they've picked up in the late lottery over the last 4 years, unless they all happen to hit, then Washington are going to be mediocre at best.
Is it impossible they could have gotten? I don't want to say a Rudy Gobert package, but I mean they could have gotten something here.
Well, I don't know. They've probably got the picks, but you can rely on Washington being pretty bad. But look, maybe they just weren't in the sweepstakes for that. Maybe they didn't want Gobert.
No, I'm saying to trade Beal.
Oh, okay. The other way. Yeah, probably not. Because ultimately, as much as Gobert hasn't really won in the playoffs, it hasn't necessarily been his fault. And Beal hasn't really won in the playoffs or the regular season. So he gets you, he'll be a borderline all-star for you, but how far does that get you?
Oh, I don't know.
He's a fantasy monster, Brad Beal, but in real life, he's a very, very good player who doesn't necessarily carry a team.
What else you got on their offseason? Any other moves that pique your interest?
Well, I mean, going through it, Monty Morris and Will Barton. Barton's a nice pickup even if he is aging. Monty Morris was the interesting one for me. and look, this is also reflected in picking up Delon Wright as a free agent, picking Johnny Davis with the 10th pick. These are all guys, Wright and Davis in particular, are guys who can play on or off the ball. So they might be able to play on the ball when Beal sits. They might be able to play off the ball alongside Beal. But Monty Morris is one of the best backup point guards in basketball. His specific role is to come in and steady the ship when your star people sit, and he does a wonderful job of it. So that was a really interesting pickup for me, because it says to me that whoever starts with Beal is going to be supplementary. It's going to be Brad Beal's basketball, and he will take Washington as far as he can. When he sits or when he's rested or whatever, Monty Morris will step in, and whilst they won't be as dynamic, Morris takes nothing off the table. He's a very, very good player.
Credit to Washington, though. He should be a much better fit than Dinwiddie was.
Oh, infinitely better, because Dinwiddie is a starter. He's a starter-level player. Monty Morris knows his role. He's played 20 minutes a game, maybe 25. Make sure you don't make mistakes and keep the offense moving, grease the wheels. But he's not there to go and score 15 points a game for you. He is a perfect backup point guard. I thought that was a really interesting one, because to me it signals that Beal will have the ball the whole time. Part of these previews is we have who is the star man for the team. It's not a difficult question. It's clearly Beal, and he will be the star even more so this season, because there won't be another guard to dominate the ball. The only. You want to spend a few minutes on
Porzingis since we talked about Beal?
Yeah, well, I will jump onto him in a second. Brad Beal will take this team as far as they can, but unless Porzingis absolutely excels as a secondary option, or unless one of these youngsters, Avdia, Hachimura, or Kispert, these guys, or Davis comes in and is better than what I think, because I thought it was a stretch taking him at 10. Unless one of them hit, then Washington they're going to be average. They're going to be very typically Washington. You talked about Porzingis. He's the X factor. He, clearly he's paid like a star, and he's got the profile of a star. He's never really produced like a star. He almost did as a Nick, but then his knee went, and he hasn't really been the same since. I think moving Dinwiddie for Porzingis, it clearly solved a problem in that it puts the ball back in Brad Beal's hands, but it creates another problem in that, Porzingis loves to get himself a touch in a post or three, and he's not very good at it. Like he's not strong enough through the hips and through the legs to dominate the space around there. He's a wonderful shooter, and you can't.
He should be good at it.
No, but no, you need strength through the hips and through the legs to be a good post player.
He's been in the league how long? How can he not score inside?
Because he's got no strength through the hips and legs. He cannot create position. His basic play is a turnaround jump shot, which is unblockable at 7-3 with a high release. But a turnaround jump shot is a tough shot. Unless you're Michael Jordan. No, unless you're Michael Jordan, a turnaround jump shot is not a high percentage shot. Now, the big thing for me, though, with Porzingis is how he reacts to this. For those who, like our Dallas preview will be out by the time this one's out. For those who've listened to that one, you would have heard me talk about how Porzingis really pushed back against having to be the second option, against Luka having the ball all the time. Now, Bradley Beal, for all of his ability, all of his strengths, is sure as shit not Luka Doncic. So if Porzingis struggled to fill that role alongside Luka, I can't see him being happy doing it alongside Brad Beal. That's the big issue for me. Does Porzingis pout? Does he hijack the offense? How does he mesh with Beal? And Beal's, notoriously prickly. Like he's not he's not like a Kumbaya Steph Curry type or a Giannis type who, leads with all this bluster. He's not someone who brings his team together, Brad Beal.
Well, here's my question. Like, how much better is Porzingis than Davis Bertans?
Oh, a lot.
But like, Bertans, in terms of usage rate,
Bertans has got one move, and I love Davis Bertans, but he's got one move, and that is running around off screens, catching and shooting threes. And he hasn't even done that well for 2 years.
Well, Porzingis won't run around.
Well, Porzingis won't run around and catch, off
No.
screens. But again, he's 7'3" with a high release. Like, you're not blocking that. It's impossible to block, and he is an ace shooter. So he's a genuine stretch five. So and the one thing Porzingis does have on defense, as much as he can get pushed around, he's a really good shot blocker. He's not a great rebounder, but he's a wonderful shot blocker. So he'll at least provide you with some rim protection. Between he and Daniel Gafford, Washington are always going to have an elite shot blocker on the floor. But my big thing is how does he fit in? Because if he struggled to fit in around Luka, I can't see him wanting to fit in and play a role around Brad Beal.
Who do we got for your X Factor? I know there's a lot of picks here.
Yeah, no, that is my X Factor. It's got to be Porzingis. And the X Factor is purely around how much he wants to sacrifice.
Okay. I was going to say maybe Johnny Davis deserves maybe an X Factor role. I thought he was a little high for 10. Looks small.
Oh, absolutely. I would have thought he was a late teens pick. But I think it's unfair to have a rookie as an X Factor, particularly one who's not going to handle the ball a hell of a lot. Look, Will Barton's going to start at the 2. So, maybe even Kispert if Barton falls off a cliff. Davis won't see.
Are we sure he hasn't fallen off a cliff?
Look, I think the toes are dangling over the edge at the moment. I think we've seen the best of Will Barton.
Fair.
Last season he slowed down considerably. That trade was more about Monty Morris and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope than it was around Will Barton. Yeah. As much as he was the highest scorer of the 3, I honestly think Barton is, and it's a shame, everyone loves the people's champ, but I think he's an athletic guy, relies on his speed and athleticism, and that's what he calls himself. So I honestly, if Barton does have if Barton isn't going to fall off a cliff, this will be the last good season we see from him.
All right, Jarrod, let's hear a prediction. Washington Wizards. What do we got?
Well, they're an average basketball team in an average basketball market, and I think they're going to play average basketball. They are going to win They are going to win 41 games, 500 on the dot.
Wow.
Yep, I think they are going to be the definition of average. If a team drops away in the East, they might be able to sneak the 8th seed, but I think they'll finish 9th, and they'll probably get knocked out at playing time.
There we go. Washington Wizards back at home, 8 seed.
Yep, smack bang in the middle of the road. Yeah, they're like the Nickelback of basketball.
Unbelievable. All right, that's your Washington Wizards preview. There is Jarrod Prosser. Make sure to follow him. Hey_it's_JP. Myself, Trey Daubert. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and make sure to go follow the site, vendettasportsmedia.com, where all these videos can be found. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.